The 2026 softball season is finally here, and opening weekend did not disappoint. So our recap is going to be a little different. Instead of going over just game by game and talking about some different results, we're really going to be geared towards pitchers and dominant performances throughout each weekend. We're going to start with Nicole's favorite highlight from the weekend.
So I think the biggest upset that we saw this weekend was Nebraska upsetting #1 ranked Texas. Which
biggest upset or your favorite upset?
My favorite.
There were a lot
my
of
favorite. Yeah, there were a lot of upsets. My favorite upset, just obviously being biased, and I think I was just happy to see like the down goes #1 for another team that wasn't OU. So.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
And obviously rooting for my girl Jordy and Hannah over there. So had a very high scoring game. What was it, the day before?
Texas won 15-10.
Yeah.
Great comeback for Nebraska. And honestly, I'm kind of impressed because they haven't really been a powerhouse for a while. Like the program is really coming up in the last, 2-3 years. To come out and rebound like that against a team like Texas, that's a perennial powerhouse, like that takes so much guts and it takes so much maturity, especially for not having the experience of teams like Texas in those situations. I'm really excited to see Nebraska play this year.
Me too.
They're gonna be fun to watch. So the two most notable performances from my perspective are Maya Johnson's perfect game against Missouri State and Haley Nutter's perfect game against Loyola Chicago. And what makes these two, other than just being perfect games, because that in and of itself is a huge feat, but so Johnson had 15 strikeouts in 7 innings and Nutter had 14 in 7 innings. What's really impressive, and I'm geeking out over this so much, is that Johnson threw 83 pitches and Nutter threw 89 in 7 innings with double-digit strikeouts. That's unheard of. They were so efficient even with their strikeouts.
Because you think, obviously it takes more pitches to strike someone out than it does for them to hit a ground ball early in the count. So they're striking 14, 15 people out in less than 90 pitches in a full game. Like they were just rolling.
Yeah.
It's just crazy.
I mean, even if they don't throw a single ball to those batters, that's half their pitches. I mean, that's just insane. So, I mean, how many first pitch, second pitch outs did they get? Because it had to have been the majority of the rest of the outs because, wow. Any pitchers or coaches out there watching, that's what you want. Not necessarily the high strikeouts, although that's nice, but that amount of efficiency and keeping your pitch count down, that's what's going to win you games throughout the season. And is going to keep hitters from figuring you out and making really good adjustments because they're not seeing enough pitches to do that. I'm definitely going to be following both of them throughout the season to see if they can maintain that efficiency because I'm so impressed.
Another great pitching performance that we saw this weekend was from sophomore pitcher from Tennessee, Erin Newer. She threw a no-hitter against BYU, which is also, a very scrappy team. So putting up some impressive numbers there. They won 10-0. Tennessee ended up run ruling in that 5th inning. So in 5 innings pitched, she had 68 pitches, which is still, putting up good numbers. So it sounded like obviously she had a very efficient outing and a great start, obviously, to the year. Just by the looks of their weekend, it looks like Tennessee's pitching staff is off to a good start this year.
Because Pickens threw a shutout against Oregon, and their offense is always really tough. So to have Pickens and then Newer throwing a no-hitter against another scrappy team, BYU, they got a solid staff. Rounding out the weekend, I mean, obviously the big pitchers, Kennedy, Pickens, Ball, Kavan, they had great weekends. We just kind of expect it from them because they make it look so easy. The last pitcher I want to touch on is Jalen Adams. We talked about her in our preseason or our transfer class rankings. I know we ranked Arizona in the top 5. I think they were number 3 or something like that. Adams is definitely living up to what we thought she would do. She had a no-hitter on Friday against Southern Utah, 5 innings, 53 pitches, again, super efficient. She had one hit batter, and that was it. So
better than a walk.
Exactly. Yes. So she threw that game on Thursday. She threw 6 innings against Oklahoma on Friday and got the win, which was another crazy outing for her. Because honestly, even to hold Oklahoma to 6 runs is good.
Yeah.
Yeah. She threw 6 innings against Oklahoma, 7 hits to Oklahoma in 6 innings and 2 runs. That is a great performance. She wasn't as efficient. She had 125 pitches. That I would expect. Oklahoma is going to fight. They're not going to have short at bats, but like that's a gritty performance, especially the day after a no-hitter. Yeah, I think the only thing that was really different is she had 4 walks in that game, but also when you're throwing over 100 pitches, you're going to get tired, especially the first weekend out.
And she threw every day of the weekend.
I mean, so Saturday she threw 0.1 innings.
Yes,
she threw
came
4
in
pitches,
for,
but that's still warm up. That's still the mental drain.
The mental
and
side of like pitching every day.
Yeah.
It's
and especially
thing.
the day, and after throwing 125 pitches the day before and 53 pitches before that.
Yeah.
Like,
that's why I'm like, when you're asked to get up at that point, you're like, really?
Yeah, especially opening weekend. You've been through the preseason prep, right? And the grind that it is, but as much as you work on it, there's nothing that builds game stamina like throwing in games.
Yeah. Very, very impressive on her part.
And then she came back today and she threw another 6.2 innings against Oklahoma again. And held them to 5 runs. I'm impressed with this kid. 139 pitches today. Definitely looks like she got a little fatigued. Shocker. 6 walks, just higher pitch count, but still holding Oklahoma to 5 runs after seeing them really like 3 days in a row.
It was like its own series. So obviously we talked about, the pitchers before with the perfect games and having lots of strikeouts. And while strikeouts are fun, right, they're not needed to be successful. Over the whole weekend, she only had 7 strikeouts, but was still able to generate outs. So obviously it just goes to show that strikeouts aren't everything. And really at the end of the day, the goal of a pitcher is just to find a way to get outs. And oftentimes feeding your defense is a more efficient way to get outs because you're throwing less pitches in and at bat. So she was doing her job, right? Finding ways to get outs against a really good hitting team.
And she even said in her post-game interview after the win against Oklahoma on Friday, being a senior and having all of that experience behind her after her first 3 years, that she really feels like she can trust her defense. And I think being in Arizona, their defense is really good. So that obviously helps. But she did make a note of saying that she's really able to trust her defense and rely on them when she's pitching in games. So those were the performances that we wanted to highlight this weekend. Really dominating pitching performances. We would love to hear what performances or what pitchers you thought were really dominant this weekend, or if we missed any games that you think were worthy of being in here. Please let us know in the comments. We would love to hear about them.
Every couple of weeks throughout season, we're going to be doing recaps of dominating pitching performances. So make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out in future videos. Goodbye.